Zelensky was fighting a much bigger entity. If they don't settle this war soon, like almost immediately, I'm going to put massive tariffs on Russia. They have 30,000 army tanks. Russia has 30,000 army tanks. Zelensky had none, practically.
We're diving into an intense and important topic, an exclusive interview with President Trump, where he discusses his thoughts on the ongoing war in Ukraine. In this clip, he talks about how the war should have never started, his take on Biden's handling of the situation, and what he would do to bring an end to the conflict. Trump doesn't hold back, and he shares some bold statements on how he believes this war could be stopped quickly and the heavy toll it's taking on both Russia and Ukraine. Before we dive into the video, I want to point out just how deeply personal this issue is for so many. Lives are being lost, cities are being destroyed, and the world's stability is at risk. So let's hear what Trump has to say. Then I'll share my thoughts afterward. He believes this war could have been avoided and that it would never have started if he were president. He's confident he could have ended it quickly. You can really hear his frustration with how things were handled, and I think it shows his belief that there was a better way to approach it from the start.
You seem to have had a relationship with him and you've talked about ending this war in Europe, and you want to end it quickly. How quickly can it end?
Should end immediately. Should have never started. That would never have started if I were. I used to talk to Putin about it. Ukraine was the apple of his eye, but there was no chance that he would ever do it. And he didn't do it. For 4 years, he didn't do it.
Have you spoken to him?
I don't want to say, but I will tell you, it's got to end.
Trump's suggesting that if Biden had kept energy prices under control, Putin wouldn't have had the financial resources to start the war. It's a thought-provoking connection, and it really speaks to how interlinked global politics and energy are. If we look at how much power energy markets hold, especially for countries like Russia, it's easy to see how rising costs gave Putin the leverage to escalate things.
And if you look at I'm just talking from a human life. I don't care, Russia, Ukraine, US. These are human beings that are just being slaughtered on this battlefield by the millions. They've already died in cities. The cities are like demolition sites. Many people died. One thing with the Ukraine war, you're going to find many more people died than think. This is a war that should have never started. Biden did a horrible, horrible job in allowing that war to start. It should have never started. It would have never started. It wasn't even tough from that standpoint. One thing, so he allowed energy to go up, way up. If he brought it down, the war wouldn't have started because Putin wouldn't have had the money. Putin makes all his money on energy. And Biden let it go to a record. And Putin had so much money, he was able to do it. So, but that's only one thing. That wasn't even the biggest.
Okay, this is a pretty strong statement from Trump. He's saying that if Russia refuses to negotiate and end the war, he would impose massive tariffs, massive taxes, and big sanctions on Russia. That's a pretty serious threat, and it really shows just how committed he is to ending this war, but also how much leverage he's willing to use to push for peace. What's interesting here is that he also emphasizes that he doesn't want to take these actions and that he loves the Russian people. He's not targeting them. It seems like he's making a clear distinction between the Russian people and the actions of their leadership. It's a delicate balance, using strong measures to pressure the Russian government while still showing empathy for the people caught in the middle of the conflict.
What was said at the time was so bad. I said, he's going to drive that guy into doing this.
A minor incursion? When he said
he used the word minor incursion. That was bad, but he said things worse than that. And Putin shouldn't have done it, too. I mean, I'm not blaming the only one. Putin shouldn't have done it. He shouldn't have done it, and it has to stop. Do you know they've lost about 850,000 Russian soldiers and 700,000 Ukrainian soldiers?
And the Ukraine has been devastated.
Devastated.
Will it be a negotiated settlement, and will you lead the negotiations?
Well, I hope so. And I put out a truth today that's really strong, and I mean it. And if they don't do that, I'm going to put massive
Explain. If
tariffs.
they don't do what?
If they don't settle this war soon, like almost immediately, I'm going to put massive tariffs on Russia and massive taxes and also big sanctions. And I don't want to do that. You know, I love the Russian people. They're great people. I don't want to do that, but we got to get this war ended.
He's saying that Zelensky shouldn't have fought such a massive war against a much bigger, more powerful adversary. Trump believes that a deal could have been reached early on, and that it would have been a nothing deal, something that could have been made easily. He's clearly frustrated that instead of negotiating, Zelensky chose to continue fighting a superpower like Russia, especially when Ukraine didn't have the same military capacity. Trump makes a point about the imbalance of power, Russia having 30,000 tanks compared to Ukraine's practically none. It's true that Ukraine was going up against a much larger military force, but here's the thing. Does diplomacy always win when you're facing that kind of odds? Is there a way Zelensky could have avoided this fight, or did he have no other choice but to defend his country?
Fast. And Zelensky, I will say this, he wants to settle now. He's had enough. He shouldn't have allowed this to happen either.
No.
You know, if he's no angel,
Right.
He shouldn't have allowed this war to happen. First of all, he's fighting a much bigger entity, okay? Much bigger. When he was, you know, talking so brave and so. Now, two things happened. They were brave, but we gave them billions of dollars. The United States spent $200 billion more than Europe. Why did we spend more? You know why? Because Biden never asked Europe to spend more. They spent 200.
It became
you know,
a U.S.-Russia proxy war because of
look,
Joe.
Zelensky was fighting a much bigger entity, much bigger, much more powerful. He shouldn't have done that because we could have made a deal, and it would have been a deal that would have been, it would have been a nothing deal. I could have made that deal so easily. And Zelensky decided that I want to fight. You know, they have 30,000 army tanks. Russia has 30,000 army tanks. Zelensky had none, practically. You don't fight those. Now, then we started pouring equipment, pouring. And they had the bravery to use the equipment. But in the end, that's a war has to be settled. So the field is interesting because it's very flat. It's great farmland, okay? It's very flat. There's no protection. The only thing that's stopping a bullet that gets shot, they can go for miles, is a human body. And they're being hit left and right. And they're losing millions of people. Young, beautiful people are dying on the battlefield. And it's got to stop.
Zelensky did say for the first time that he would be open to a negotiated settlement.
He says that.
You mentioned
Trump believes this war could have been avoided and would have ended quickly under his presidency. His frustration with how things unfolded is clear. Do you think his approach would have worked? Let me know your thoughts in the comments.